Hi everybody, we're out here on the homestead doing some chores, and I figured it would be a great time to take you around and show you kind of where we're at in the garden. There's a lot of things that are starting to sprout up, a couple things we've transplanted, a couple little updates on the past transplants that we had, and I figured it would be a good opportunity since we're starting to get into the heaviness of the planting season. So definitely a lot of changes to be coming. The tomatoes have definitely outgrown their space. Many of them are touching the ceiling, even though I did pinch most of them back. And down here, these ones are definitely outgrowing their shelves. So looking forward to being able to plant tomatoes soon, probably in the next couple weeks as temperatures warm up. Likewise, our cellulose pampas plume has decided it's already going to start giving us blooms. Not too sure if this is good or if I should have pinched these back. I did notice also too, some of the leaves were starting to get a little bit crispy, so I did recently give them a water because I think that was the reason why they were a little worse for wear. This tray is definitely outgrowing its home too, so hopefully we'll be able to get them into the ground. We have a bunch of floppy carnations. They definitely need a water, so I missed them yesterday, so I'm going to give them a water today. Also too, the Sweet William is getting nice and big as well. And then we have some sage over here too. We have some zinnia here at the front, and then we have our Shasta Daisy back here. Everybody is looking really strong and healthy. Our chamomile is definitely ready to go out. It's certainly outgrowing its home now. A couple of them I've noticed are starting to just get a little bit of yellow tipping. I think I overwatered these guys a little bit too much. And then we have these guys at the back that are also doing pretty well. These guys are the Asters. This tray is looking really good as well. We're starting to see some color on the Claris. Gomphrena, I'm really excited. These were from some saved seeds. They're doing pretty well. There's a couple cells that didn't pop anything up, and as you can see, there's a little bit of algae on the top, but that hasn't affected things too much. And then we have some Verbena Peppers are doing pretty well. I did have a little bit of a deficiency in nutrients, so we have a couple that have a little bit of curls on the leaves, but the new growth is coming in since I fertilized them. Peppers don't have transient nutrients, so they don't fix leaves that do have issues, but the new leaves and the new growth that will come in will be good. You can kind of see on this one here, the curl and the bumping was definitely because they needed some new fresh nutrients, but that's okay, they'll bounce back just fine. And then we have our second sowing in here as well. So this is my most recent sowing. I did have the best germination on these violas here, which was kind of disappointing, but it is what it is. We have some jewels of opar here, some bee balm coneflower, some status, just a mixture of some late season flowers, and they're obviously very small, so they haven't been transplanted yet. I'm not sure if they didn't grow well because I have quite a bit of algae on these seed trays for some reason. I think I just overwatered them a little bit because I was keeping them with a similar system as my other guys that were more established, but you live and learn, right? We do have this Craspedia here. We got fairly good germination on them, which I was really excited about. We have some violas here as well, and some other assorted flowers. We have our second sown ranunculus over here, and well, things aren't always the greatest because this guy, he died on me, so that's kind of disappointing, but I do have quite a few others. I've moved out half of the tray actually into the garden beds, and they're doing pretty well. I'll show you in this video too. And then the ranunculus buckets that we had are actually outside now, and they've spent a couple nights outside, so they're going to be out there permanently for the season unless we get some really hard frost. These are the straw flowers that are definitely outgrowing their home as well. And if you catch my last video, we have dahlias down here. And then this one is an anemone. One of them is pretty leggy, but the other ones are doing pretty great. I definitely feel like we have things all over the house because our sweet potatoes are currently in our bathroom. Some of them are doing fairly well, starting to get a little bit of sprouts, but we have one that has absolutely popped off. Not sure why this one is so special. In our kitchen, we have one random tomato that is enjoying its life on the windowsill, and then we have some oregano here. We have our lettuce that we've been picking off of, a couple herbs that we've been growing really well, some onions, our lilac experiment, which, folks, it's not going well, and then a couple houseplants. You probably noticed we were down a couple trays, and that's because we have 3 of them out here. They've been coming out for about a week now, week and a half. And we have our strawflower, we have snapdragons, some extra onions, some caldenia, we have foxglove, we have delphinium, and then we have some columbine. I'm not too sure when I'm going to get started on planting these guys out, but it's definitely going to be soon. So as mentioned, and also on my previous video, our ranunculus have been spending their times outside and they're quite happy about it. They're giving us lots of new growth. So really excited about that. And then the pansies also too have been really flourishing since being outside. In the front yard too, we actually have our Lunera coming back up for the season. So really excited about that. We're also getting some buds on our hazelnut corkscrews. So this will be coming into bloom soon. And then over here we have another Lunera, and I haven't seen new growth on him. He's still a little bit green, so I'm not sure if that growth will redo this year, but still waiting on that guy. And then the bunny grass is just older from last year. I don't think it's gonna come
Things
back.
are definitely a little late for the season. We do have a protective barrier around most of our newer bulbs, but we haven't got a single bloom yet. So we have a bunch of daffodils in here, we have a bunch of tulips, and they are starting to get heads on them, but definitely no flowers as of yet. So that's something that has definitely been different since last year. Last year we had a lot more by this point, but you know, every year is a little bit different. The side of the house, we do have our hollyhocks coming up, so that is a grateful sign. And then we do also have some asparagus popping up.
Some of our bulbs are doing well. These are just 2 random daffodils that we had in our backyard. They actually came up from these rocks, so that was pretty exciting. And they look like they're just about to bloom. We do also have lots of new growth on the gooseberry. We have one here, and then we also have one over here. And both of them are doing really well. We've also been checking on our trees. So we actually had a critter dig the mulch from around our apple tree. You can kind of see it all over the ground. So it looks a little bit messy, but no damage to the tree itself, so that was great. The apple tree doesn't quite have any buds on it yet. But when we come over to the cherry tree, it definitely has seen some life. So the buds on it are starting, try to focus on that. They're starting to bud and come to life. So really excited to get foliage on this. We do have some bulbs here in the back garden as well, and this is new since the last time I took you guys on a tour. A lot of them were getting eaten. We're dealing with a lot of squirrels and chipmunk and red squirrel pressure, probably some other rodents that we don't even see overnight, but we added these barriers to hopefully save what we still have in the beds here. We also added a barrier for around our garlic. Now they weren't going after our garlic, but you can kind of see they were digging in the mulch, and we just wanted to make sure that we were giving them the best option, an opportunity to grow to their fullest potential without being disturbed. We also have our onions out. Now these onions did take a little bit of snow, so a couple of them are a little worse for wear, and they do kind of look long and scraggly right now, but they will, as soon as they start getting more layers and more foliage, they'll start perking up a lot more. In this herb bed too, we have our chives coming up for the season. And while this is going to be a work in progress that I show you guys in another video, but we do have our peony coming to life. There's also a new growth happening on our raspberries here. We added a new strawberry for the year. This one's coming back to life from last year. And overall, we're just working on this to make it a little bit more
I guess, user friendly. A lot more perennials and a lot more things that are going to come back versus the previous seasons where we've just kind of did annual flowers. Speaking of those ranunculus, I have them out here. Now they are going through a little bit of transport shock, so they kind of look a little bit floppy, but that's okay. I'm sure they're going to perk right back up. Not too sure about this Swiss chard though. If you've seen my previous videos, you'll know that I just don't grow Swiss chard very well. So don't have high hopes for that, but that's okay. And now, like I was saying about the pressure, we have a hole here that we keep trying to bury with this piece of wood, but critters keep getting in. So as you see with the poles here, this is going to be the next area that we kind of secure. And this is kind of the method that we're using. We're just using this bird netting and then some support beams. And you're probably wondering, well, a lot of our peas got munched on. So we actually planted out this entire bed, again, with new peas at the back. Some of them were being dug up and some of them were being eaten. Then down the middle and also down this side here, we have more peas on this side. Down the middle, we did parsnips and carrots because you can get them in the ground as soon as everything is workable. So we planted those yesterday. Had a kale here. As you see, it also got munched, but that's gardening life if you don't protect things right away. So hopefully this barrier will definitely assist in that. Something else that is new are these beds that are actually more behind our garden that we just temporarily kind of built up for a spot to put our potatoes. So we are doing a couple different varieties. So we have a couple different kinds, and then we're just working to build up this area here. We have some cardboard down because eventually this is all going to be mulched in. And we're just starting to put some more organic material back in this section here. Thankful for a hand by my husband here, but the brassica bed is looking really, really good. We have nice strong leaves. Could use a little bit of a water. We'll probably leave it open because we're expecting some tomorrow. And yeah, cabbages are looking great. There's a couple like dead leaves on them. Those are just the seed leaves, so it's okay if they go. A couple maybe got a bit of sunburn, but that shouldn't affect it too bad. We have new leaves starting and they are looking like they're in really good shape. And then finally our greens bed is doing really, really well. We even had completely cut down this tangle leaf almost, but as you see, there's new growth starting. The beets in between are doing really well. The spinach did really well. I actually transplanted this spinach, and some people say that transplanting doesn't really work that well and you won't get a good harvest, but I've never personally had an issue with it. We have a romaine here starting to do a little bit of a head, which is super exciting. We have some arugula, we have some kale, some endive, some other type of kale, and then we have mustard here and the kohlrabi. So really, really excited about all of this.
So I hope you enjoyed this little update. Rocco and I are currently sun tanning on the deck because it's supposed to be a beautiful 18 degrees today. So really excited that the good weather is here to stay, and hopefully we'll get more planting in soon. Thanks for coming.